in more harmony with technology. And yeah, I think conscious stack design brings such a great solution to that. And because of my background working in tech, trying to raise consumer awareness about the impact of technology and what people can do about it, I just was so excited to jump in. So today is really cool because we've been trying to build stuff up and build pathways for people to get more involved or to even connect with each other and share what they're working on. And that's the purpose of today. So I'm excited to hear from you all and learn more about you. And I do believe that people, whether it's online or in real life, all cross each other's paths at the right time for a reason. So yeah, that makes me even more excited to hear from you.
100%. And yeah, I think we might just do some intros with one another, right, Kaylee? So we can all get to know who we are. And we got one more person coming in, Dr. Linda Curitan. This is going to be great. So yeah, maybe we might just go around in a circle, and I'll start with who I see first on screen. And so Tirza, let's start with you. Just brief intro and your interest in, I guess, the topic of consciousness in tech. And for those of you who have already done one of the CSD, gone through the CSD experience, you can feel free to share what you've also experienced. So Tirza.
Yeah, my name is Tirza. Currently I live in Lisbon. I'm a creative and digital strategist, and combining focused on content creation and just helping founders, kind of like translating their business content into actual content that they put online. And I've been doing that now for about 3 years. Started out as a video editor, and that kind of like moved on into content creation, web design, now also working for Google, doing the Google ads, conversion tracking, and the whole like marketing side. I started I think in the beginning when I started with social media, I started the GSD challenges just to get more comfortable with video making and just trying a whole different styles, like all different styles of content creation. And yeah, that kind of like moved on to right now being more spiritual as well in our dream group. And I think that also brought in the conscious part for me. Tech has always been very interesting to me, but like being able to combine that was very interesting, especially when George kind of audited my phone usage. That was already like a big step, because there was a significant change. Even from last week, I went down like 36% of phone usage, but like the productivity just went up. So there's definitely, it's very interesting.
Yeah, thanks for that. Tirza, Joe, I think you're next.
Hi everyone, my name is Joan Sarah Garcia, and I'm Tirza's sister, actually, like Callie already said. And George and us, we go back for more than 20 years. And so I'm two things, most mainly. One is I'm the founder of Umaversity, which is a women's health platform that provides knowledge and support for women on their health. And thank you for sharing. And I'm also a business mentor for women, for female entrepreneurs, teaching them how to create an ecosystem where their health, wealth, and business is just thriving. Because I believe this is often lacking. So those two things I do, and it all coincides with each other. And right now I'm in Thailand, just like George. And of course, I've been hearing about conscious tech from the very beginning. And I did my own assessment, and yeah, it was really good to get feedback on that. And what I noticed is that because I'm pretty busy and I like being fast and efficient, but that doesn't always mean using more apps, using more software. And so with a few minor adjustments, I just deleted all of the apps that I didn't use for more than a month. And also I've been using some of the tools that George has recommended that kind of consolidate all of the apps that you normally use into one. And that I've already noticed that has created space in my mind for, things that I actually want to focus on instead of that constant switching between software. So yeah, that was a little bit about me. Nice to meet you.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Joe. Raj, over to you. I'm just going down who I can see on the screen.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. It's night for me. I'm in Columbus, Ohio. I just met George a day ago, and I mean, we quickly connected, and thanks for inviting George. This is we need to have these kind of groups conversations more, because it is important all along. If starting from the childhood, consciousness is very important. We don't feed. I mean, we teach our kids. If you have a kids, or if you are going to have kids, we teach the basics. What did we teach when they have a teeth? I mean, we take a brush. We tell them every day, every night, you need to 2 minutes brushing. If you don't, you lose it. So that is the basic principle, consciously doing this stuff. So coming to, that's the story, or preface for my conscious, my experience goes almost 35 years. I've seen this technological impact. I go back, starting my educationally, I'm a computer science engineer. I'm my early entrepreneur, corporate executive, worked on the tech, worked on the business, seen the full, and even approaching the people. If I give a small example, human in the human resources, I wouldn't call resources. We need to consciously and deliberately stop using these combined terminologies, because you will find many terms. Simple example is in the today's technological evolution, we are calling humanoid to a robot. It is not a human. Don't confuse it. That's where we will feed, to train our brain to say, hey, it is a machine, it is a tool. AI is a tool like anything before, but it is not same as 30 years back when the PCs or programming, developing a simple applications to today, it does intelligent. It used to be basically static response. You can refer, someone said, work for Google. I mean, Google, it was a static. I mean, we used to type search, it used to come back with the specific answer. But now with the AI, dynamic, I mean, we can interact. So it is a multiplying 1,000 times or 10,000 times or 100,000 times better. As a humans, we are lucky to be alive. I feel lucky. I studied AI theoretically, but I have not thought. I mean, we'll see this quickly in my lifetime.
Yeah.
COVID has changed everything, because
100%.
even robotics. I'm to give you that perspective with my 35 years experience. Last 3 years, I mean, after my deliberately, I took a break. I mean, I call it a retirement, semi-retirement. I hope everybody gets that to do in their life. I see many of you maybe in the middle of mid-career or starting new career or wherever you are, don't go behind this rat race. Because I call it a rat race because you all like the games, right? I mean, sports. Sorry, I go on. This
We might come back to you, Raj, as well, just so we can let everyone introduce themselves, and then we can have more conversations. No, I love it. I love it. I know you have so much wisdom to share. But we'll come back. We'll talk more. Thanks, Raj.
Thank you.
Okay, Anthony, we'll go to you, and then we'll go to Dr. Linda as well after.
Cool. Yeah, can you hear me? Yep, awesome. Hey everyone, so my name is Anth. I'm based in Sydney, Australia at the moment. I'm a cultural storyteller and a marketing advisor and a writer. My current focus is building a community and a media platform, helping people with migrant backgrounds in Australia to build wealth across money, career, health, and time. And I'm in the process of launching my first event here. April 28th is the date, and what we're doing is basically creating a space and a container for people with migrant backgrounds and their allies to come into a room and then create access opportunities for them, whether they want jobs, rent, somewhere to rent, whatever it is that they need. I'm doing the anti-networking event, let's put it that way. And so that's where I'm at right now. Glad to be here. Yeah, and as we're conscious, like what this particular group and what George has been doing, I'm very much across and love exploring the intersection between tech and consciousness. I think those two things now is the time really for that to come together.
Love it. Thank you so much, Af. Dr. Linda Curitin, over to you.
Good. Hello. Linda Curitin, and I am the CEO of Muse Technologies. Muse is a small business that specializes in program project management, operational support, as well as leadership and executive development. I'm interested in I have almost 40 years of U.S. federal government experience, most recently as the CIO of NASA. And my technical background is a systems programmer, and I was in executive leadership positions for almost 15 years, something like that. I'm interested in the intersection of technology and leadership, and that sums it up. I'm also an adjunct at University of Maryland Eastern Shore, teaching doctoral research. That's it.
Love it. Yeah, no, thank you so much for sharing, and thanks everyone for sharing. I'll hand over to Kaylee, and we can then look at what we'll be discussing next. Kaylee.
To introduce myself more, or just to?
Yes, to introduce yourself more. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. So great to hear from you all and your stories. Every time we get on one of these calls, just the fact that people come in from all different time zones around the world is, to me, just really cool when we have these types of discussions. But I'm also a marketer. I've always worked with small businesses and startups, but my career has really focused on movement building marketing, as I like to think. But I worked with the community of B corporations to do public awareness campaigns. And then I went into the tech sector, was working in something called customer marketing, which is basically community building for different tech companies. Got into the cybersecurity industry and met one of my business partners. She founded a nonprofit called Cyber Collective to help teach people digital safety. So I left and we went full-time with that. And now I'm just full-time with my own business, supporting different entrepreneurs and really looking at how we can push forward a better future with technology. I my company is called Online and IRL, so it's a brand marketing studio, but I do different types of events and community building things, different visual art to help us rethink or reset our relationship with technology. And for me, what really interests me around conscious technology, like the part that I'm focusing on now, which I have gotten here because of the way that George speaks about conscious stack design and even having my own readings done through him, is how it impacts our cognition. And also this concept of digital sovereignty for people, because when we think of digital sovereignty, well, when I first learned about it, it was very much in like the nation state context or like a geopolitical context. And I am really interested as to how that can be available for a lot of people, or maybe shift our perspectives in the way that we look at these systems. And cognition and how our brains work, and like appreciating your unique brain, or how you take care of your unique brain, how you can live better lives with technology, is something that I am exploring through this too. So.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much, Kaylee. I think what I might do is just take you guys through a quick process, show you how we're currently using conscious stack design. And then what I want us to do is actually just talk about the topic of conscious tech and what's actually happening in the market today. And also explore projects or ventures, that people are currently working on that are interweaved, with this particular topic. Because as of March 5th, today, 2026, it's been 1 month since I made my move here to Thailand, and specifically in Chiang Mai. For those of you that aren't aware, I was in Mexico previously, and it's been really fascinating to see the shift in appetite for something like conscious stack design. So when I was in Mexico and working with folks in the Americas, I think only a very small percentage of people really understood this. Dr. Linda Creerton, who's here with us as well, she has been following my journey with this for the last, I think it's almost 2 years. And so she's somebody who really understands this. And I was looking for groups of people who don't just understand the consciousness stuff, right? And the spiritual stuff, but are super grounded and super pragmatic, and who may be already established in their careers and be highly technical, but don't just want to retreat out into the mountains and forget about humanity in order to pursue the spiritual side. And I think everybody here kind of shares that. A lot of us understand those elements, but we do want to see more grounded, practical solutions in the world around this. And so coming to Chiang Mai has been super fascinating because it's a really interesting blend of East and West minds. And we also have a really, architecturally, you can see there's this blend of modern and traditional. And so I think what I've noticed in sharing conscious stack design here is that I started just referring to it as like applied digital feng shui, because I'm in Asia, right? And that really hit because obviously here, feng shui is actually super integrated into the culture and even in business. And but in the West, it's kind of like on the edge, right? If you do mention that, it's going to be out there in the woo territory. But here, it is serious business. And so that already has been a really interesting context switch because I didn't really expect that. And so I've been having a lot of talks already with people locally. We've actually, if my friend John Ho, who's actually the founder for one of the co-working spaces here, co-living spaces, I spoke to him yesterday, and we already secured a venue space for physical in-person meetups. So we're going to start having those here because there is also a kickback of people who are deep into tech, who actually want to meet in person more, including the introverts, right? Which is super fascinating. They actually are like, I've had enough like being online for too long. And you might have noticed, Kaylee, you should drop your URL because Kaylee is the queen of in real life events. Yeah. If she hasn't mentioned that already. And these are the sort of things, that I've been tracking over the last few years, timing. Raj, I think you also mentioned this, right, about now's the time. And it really is. I think the language is shifting. AI is pushing people to question meaning as a human being. And I think people are more ready to be talking about these sort of topics. And even here in Chiang Mai, when I was searching for Facebook groups, because Facebook is like the first portal into everything here in Chiang Mai, a lot of the groups were either all tech, so AI, Bitcoin, all that sort of stuff, or all consciousness, so wellness, meditation, yoga. None of them had in between. And so when I was speaking to John Ho yesterday about this, he said, I think you're onto something, because yeah, nobody is combining these two areas yet. He hasn't seen somebody, cover conscious technologies. So we are in a good position. This is the early stages, is what I've been waiting for. And, folks like Dr. Linda Kiraton will know, it's been a long time coming. And yeah, I'm super excited. So let me share my screen and I'll take you through sort of like the first steps in the conscious stack design process. Can you guys see my screen? Might need a verbal yes, because I can't now.
Yes.
Okay, there we go. Okay, perfect. So this is, I'm gonna clear, let me just reset this. I'm gonna clear this. So if you go to consciousstack.com /stack builder, you'll see something that looks like this, okay? Now, this is actually the mental model that I am starting to share with folks, which is essentially a 9-slot pyramid, okay? And why I'm starting to share this with people when I meet with them in real life is because this is a process I can do live on paper. So you can see I got a little pyramid here, which I drew for John yesterday when I met with him. In doing all this work, I originally started with this full-blown enterprise software called Culture Stack. Dr. Linda also will remember when I originally did this. But I had a sense back then that the entire software landscape was going to change because of AI. And I'm lucky I held off on that, because the SaaS industry has had a complete hammering as a result of AI. AI is changing the economics, the fundamental economics of the Western SaaS playbook. And I think we all need to pay attention to this, because we're entering an era where AI will build the tools for you. We're going to have a transition, but it's going to cause a lot of people to stop signing up for new things, to reduce the amount of tools or apps that they're using, and fundamentally just change our relationship with tools and applications in general. This stack builder or stack pyramid is sort of the first step to provide a cognitive guard or guardrail for your mind, and to also prepare for what's coming. Now, this might seem super simple and arbitrary, but there's a deep reason as to why I've set this up as the first thing that I start teaching people when it comes to conscious stack design. And so on this page, you'll typically end up in this process after first taking a look at your screen time activity. So some of you have already shared, right, that you've gone through this process with me of where you will, I'll ask you to share with me your screen time activity. And this is actually very similar to other niches where there's an initial scan or reading of something related to their expertise, right? So for those who may have done astrology, or for those who have done palm readings or something of the sort, this is kind of like the equivalent. So I have learned as a result of Kaylee. Kaylee, can you drop that link that you built, the landing page that you built recently? The reading one. Let's see if I'm just gonna bring that up from Kaylee. Was it just called screen reading?
Yeah, screen read. Let me I can drop it in. I just went to go click on it and it might have broke because I
no.
yesterday, but I'll find it.
Okay, no worries, no worries. So essentially, Kaylee created this. She bought a domain. I didn't even realize she bought a domain and created something called screenreading.com, and it's essentially where we take your screen time activity, and we let's bring this up here, and we essentially get a read of your actual activity and engagement with applications right now, because most people don't really look at this. We have a lot of time based apps, time productivity apps, but people aren't looking at the tools that they're using, how they're using it, and then how it's actually building a stack profile of yourself. And so from this, I'll usually take this, put it into our trained agent, and actually read it within the conscious stack design universe or lens. Okay, and so I'll now bring up a new tab, and you will see here. For people who become serious about conscious stack design, there's this practitioner's guide page, and we have this profile matrix. So if any of you are familiar with personality profiling systems, right? Essentially, from your stack patterns, you will start to reveal your own stack profile. And this is, of course, to help people just start getting used to the idea of your stack being a mirror of your cognitive patterns and your own consciousness. Now, consciousness can be loaded. I've already experienced this with different people. Different people have different ideas around the word consciousness. And this actually might be a good place to stop and ask folks, when I say consciousness, what that means to you. So let me just stop sharing my screen, and I might just ask folks, what does consciousness mean to you? So, I'm just going with who I see first. Anf, what does consciousness mean to you?
For me, the first thing that comes to mind is just a higher level of, I'm trying to find the right word here. It's something that's bigger than myself. For me, it's how we all connect together. And when I say all, it's not just humans, it's also all beings that are in existence together collectively. That to me is what consciousness represents.
Okay, perfect. Kaylee.
Yeah, so interesting. For me, what it means and what it has meant for a long time is awareness. So just like if you're conscious, then you're aware of something outside of yourself that maybe isn't easy to see, but you're tapped into. And then most recently, I have started to associate it with kind of like a different realm. So I appreciate the way that you described it, Anthony. But yeah, for a long time, it just means it's like an act of awareness, and then you're tapped into something. And now it also includes the thing you're tapping into.
Yeah, love it. We've got Dr. Linda Curitan.
Okay, I would simply say self-awareness. That's it.
Yeah. Yep. Perfect. Raj.
Sorry, I was trying to find the unmute button. Conscious, I agree with the awareness, and it is also your mind. Always we have a second mind or picture. So you are aware, awake, and unconsciously means when we are sleeping, dreaming is different than what we have picture in our mind is different. So that is what the conscious means to me.
Tirza.
For me, conscious means I think what it relates for me to my dreams, because the more I dream, the more I understand what I'm dreaming, the more I feel like what my consciousness is going through and experiencing, and that in a way helps me to understand how I process things.
That's fascinating. And then Joe.
Yeah, I think consciousness is, first awareness, but then the next step is intent, because with what are you going to do with the awareness? And so being intentional with your actions and being.
Love it. Okay, thank you everyone for sharing. And I think this is super fascinating to me because Right. This is the formal definition, and I think awareness is definitely the main thing that is used from the Oxford Dictionary. Right. So the state of being awake and aware of one's surroundings, and how this ties into conscious stack design. Right. Is that we could probably argue that a lot of people have become not so awake and aware of our physical surroundings. Right. But in the digital space, it's even more clear that we are not always awake and aware of our digital surroundings, and yet we spend so much more time in our digital spaces than we do in our physical. And so if I was to put it simply, right, the whole conscious stack movement is just helping people go from being unconscious users of technology to conscious ones. Our personal mission is to help protect the human mind within that process, but that's because we are now entering an era where AI is even more insidious in its ability to potentially manipulate our minds than the era of social media that we're already used to, that we do need to consciously become conscious of our use of technology. And so what we're building here is a process and a system, but also a movement to back that. And that's just very clearly and simply how we're approaching this. So taking us back to the Conscious Stack site, we now got a proper free quiz that you can take to just understand what your stack type is. For those who want to go further, there is a stack profile that you can take, and that's I think a $97 test. But for those of you who have been on, I'll send a special link that you can get a discount for since you're on the call today. And this is where it goes way deeper into your stack profile. And then for those who are even more serious, there is a stack audit. And that stack audit is something that people have already started asking for. So the stack audit is actually what some of you have already started to get, right, in testing this out, which is where we go through the screen time activity. We really dive into what it's saying about you and look at ways that we can optimize. So I'm going to use this in live with you so you can see how this will work. Is when you look at your screen time activity, what's happening in the background and through our system is that we're looking at your top tools that you're using, right? And so these are currently the tools that are showing top of mind. Now, each week, you might notice that the tools might switch back and forth because each week you might have a different focus. There might be different things happening in your life. And the whole point is once you consciously set a core stack for yourself, it helps you in your mind to keep that fixed so that as new tools and new technology waves hit you, you actually know what to say no to versus what to say yes if it fits within your core stack. Because to date, people haven't had something like this, as simple as this, to keep their stacks stabilized. Because actually what I have found is an individual, team, or company that can keep a stable stack are able to handle chaos way better than others. This is actually my personal experience throughout my tech career over the last 15 years in working with teams. And if you have a stable stack, you also can then start to see how it correlates to the culture, which I defined as almost the collective consciousness of that organization. And you can then start to use the tools as a way to shift behavior consciously if a company starts or wants to start shifting in a new direction, right? Because all companies and organizations will go through their seasonal cycles. And often when they're in that state of transition, they don't even realize how their tools may be helping or hindering their ability to change or move, all right? So this, this weaves into multiple layers of business, but this particular route I've seen as the easiest way to be able to start to help shift the behaviors without needing to go through all these other things that you might need to have to educate people on in order to get anything done. So you see here, I've got these apps that are showing. So I will go here and I'll just put in the URL of this app, right? So at the top, we've got Dia browser, okay? The next, we have anti-gravity. I think that's the URL. Down below, we've got WhatsApp. And any of you can keep this, bring this up on your own computers or laptops and use this. This tool is free to use. These apps, after you slot them in, they'll stay stored locally on your own computer, so that if you come back to it, it'll still be there. So you can use this as reference. We've then got, wow, how did Google Chrome get here? Oh, because I've been using it for testing for my development work. Okay, Google Chrome. We've got X. And so what I'm showing you is the manual process of what I was doing before I started automating this with AI, etc. Right? But I wanted to create a system that you could do by hand, because again, this goes back to this cognitive relationship, right, that we have with ourselves and also with the machine, with AI. Okay, X, grab. So how many of you know what grab is? I think those of us in Asia will know. Got Notion. We've got Supercut. And if some of you have never heard of these tools before, feel free to check them out. And then we've got Instagram. All right, so that was for last. All right. Okay, so just by looking at this, right, this is a good test. What can you tell about me by just looking at these tools? So I might go with, let's see, let's go with Amp. Let's go with you first. What do you think this says about me as a person?
You love tools.
Okay, that's one, right? So if we go to the next layer, right, from the types of tools that I'm choosing, what is it? What do you think it's saying about me?
Well, you're a builder, you're a comms, you like to communicate with people. And if you're using Grab, then you're in Asia. So I would know that.
Excellent. Yeah. So this is part of the screen reading, which Kaylee, I think, is now going to start doing as a fun exercise on other people too. All right. Let's see. Tirza. Okay. What else do you think this is saying? If you're still awake, because I know it's like 2 a.m. now, your time. If Tirza's not there, I'll move on to maybe Raj. Raj, when you look at these apps, right, what do you think, if you know some of these, what do you think it says about me?
Google, you're doing the research, searching for the information. WhatsApp, you're communicating with the world. I don't know about anti-gravity. And
that's a developer tool.
Okay, then you're doing the research and you're developing and you're communicating with outsiders. I mean, your connections. And then support-wise, I mean, you're doing a lot of Notion. Instagram and the X are your social circle.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
no,
so that's what. Yep. And others, Grab, I don't know, and Supercut, I don't know.
Yeah. So Grab here in Asia is like the equivalent of Uber and Uber Eats, and it's like what everybody uses, here to get around and order food, and they have everything on it. Supercut is a video editing tool. So Supercut allows me to just record something in one take. It uses AI to create the chapters, and then other viewers can actually use the same AI to create their own notes from the video.
Yeah. Thank you.
But yeah, this is, so what you guys have done is essentially what we want conscious stack design, or conscious stack practitioners to be able to do very quickly. And once you start doing this with people, you will start to see the patterns and the profiles of folks based on their screen time activity. Now, one thing I have noticed that has been very common is that when I first do sort of this stack audit with people, the word shame comes up a lot, which was super surprising to me, because there's no judgment, with looking at the screen time activity. But I think it's just because people aren't aware how much time they're spending on certain apps or tools, right? But that's a good first step to start becoming more conscious users of our technology. And you only really need to do this one time every so often to help people just start to recalibrate and rewire the way that they're thinking about using their own tools. And Joe and Tirza have already gone through this process and have already made some like pretty significant changes to their workflow. I know Joe, in doing this, she discovered that I was using a browser called Dia, which is the one that you're seeing right now. And it has AI chat embedded into it already. So why I started using this tool was because when I initially audited myself, I realized that I was using all these other tools that Dia browser could actually help me get rid of and just start consolidating into just Dia browser, right? So say, for example, if you've been using ChatGPT, if we took a look at our stack pyramid here, we might notice that I would have had chatgpt.com maybe high up here, right? There are a lot of ChatGPT users. And well, I think recently there are a lot of cancellations, but it might have showed up in their, say, top 4 slots. And then a conscious stack practitioner could then actually use their own personal professional experience to be like, hey, I notice you're using ChatGPT. Did you know that you could actually just use something like Dia browser, where you take care of the browsing, but you could also have the chat function straight inside the browser? Because that simple switch or integration reduces the cognitive tax for the user, right? And this is where it gets super powerful, because each thing that you do that reduces cognitive tax is opening up slots in our minds for other things. And this pyramid here isn't just for tools. This is our first step. But the 9 slots, right? If you took out all these tools and replaced tools with anything in your life, you could start applying this simple like 9-slot pyramid to anything, right? So I started doing this also as an identity exercise. I even did this with my wife, which was not so fun one night. But we were talking about identity, and I was using this pyramid as sort of the mental model. And she was saying how strong she is around her Latina identity. And then I started asking her, right? This is the equivalent of looking at her app usage. I said, oh, well, how many Latina friends do you have? And then when she was going through it, she realized, oh, I actually don't have that many like local Latina friends. And I said, okay, that's interesting. What are the types of friends that you actually have? And when she looked at all of her friends, they were so culturally diverse and all over the world that I then brought up that the TCK identity, which stands for Third Culture Kid. If you haven't heard of it, highly recommend you just Google it and learn more about it. And she had that as her second layer slot, right? And so when she moved the TCK up into the core identity, her anchor at the top here, everything else cascaded, right? And just hearing about this, you might be like, oh, that seems like a really simple, straightforward thing. But you'd be surprised how many people, even when it comes to identities, that they are not clear on, right? About what their identity is as a whole, right? I call this a core stack. But then also in their families, right? The family would be a substack, right? And so what I'm doing is I'm using software language to describe anything in the world as a way to just create that structure, because it is training our mind to also deal with the fact that everything is becoming digitized, tokenized, turned into software or apps because of AI, and it's accelerating. Okay, so from this very simple pyramid, right, you can start to read folks, but then give them an opportunity to start realigning. And so for those who, get to later stages and are looking to, want to stabilize what they're doing, there is an app that recently created that will allow you to actually start monitoring live the apps that you are using day to day, but in line with the conscious stack design setup, so that you can actually start to consciously see whether your stack is drifting or not. And again, these things, each step in the layer or the process is something that you don't have to do, right? I think if there was anything that I wanted to communicate to everybody, it's this simple mental model to begin with, right? We can use technology to do all this other stuff in the background. But during this transition phase that we're all going through with AI, I want to help people protect their minds, in a way that they know what to do with the tools or applications that are coming in, and for all the future technologies that will be coming in the future. Hopefully you will see over time how this simple mental model will actually start to rejig things in your mind and also prepare for what's coming. So I might stop there and let folks, ask any questions if you have them. And then we can just move into the topic of conscious technologies in general and talk about what's going on in the market currently. So yeah, Raj, since we just connected last night, do you have any comments or questions around what I just shared?
It's a fantastic, what you're doing. Yes, we know that mobile technology, they came up with your device time, but you stopped seeing it. It was a fun initially, but you are not seeing the results. Meaning,
Yes.
you said that Joe is using it, seeing that in her daily workflow or productivity, that wasn't there before, what we had. But what you are thinking is one step farther, or 10 step or 100 step, whatever you can call it. You're putting that into the perspective. That I loved it. One question I have is, you have that pyramid model, and two questions. That is one.
Yes.
You have a daily, or your go-to, or the priority top one, and then second one, and second layer, and third layer.
Yes.
What if you go beyond that? You said you change every time,
Yes.
but because when you're transitioning, there is a lot of your inventory. If you take the inventory of your stack, you need to have the transition model, and then you need to go to the optimum level. Once if you reach that optimum level, and then you can say, maintain this. So that's my first question. Second question is gamification. We are all instant gratification. We have come to that stage. So I understand. Joe has a proof of what she is seeing in her day-to-day work. But if you go to the regular user, how do you give that satisfaction? Or you get this many points? I'm just thinking out loud. I may be wrong, but those are two.
No, those are great questions. So I'll address the first one, right? What do you do before 9? So I mentioned why I specifically have used a 9-slot pyramid to start with, because there is actually something called Miller's Law. I don't know how many of you have heard of this before, but a psychologist named George Miller in 1956, he found that people can only hold 7 things at a time, plus or minus 2, right? So that's why we use 9. Now, I use that to help people create their core stack, okay? Because essentially what I want people to be able to do is very simply be able to recall the apps and the associated categories for those apps in their minds, so that when technology comes, they're not necessarily outsourcing all of their thinking and decision-making to AI for that. Because there's a part where us as humans, we need to have parts of the cognition kept and preserved for ourselves too, so that we are also evolving, right? Part of, going through life and having experiences is so that we can evolve, we can change. And if we don't have things that, challenge us, or that if we move too much or offload too much of it onto something else, then we risk cognitive atrophy or cognitive decay, which we are starting to see. Actually, there are these reports that were coming out from MIT, from Stanford, about the cognitive decay that is happening, and the cognitive tax. So I think that we might have more issues related to the mind as people start to use ChatGPT and all these models in a way that's, they're not just consciously aware of what's happening, right? And so that answers the first question. Sorry, and you asked about what to do beyond the 9. Okay, so when you move beyond the 9, that kind of enters what I call a shadow stack mode, right? Because it's beyond your conscious awareness, right? And it's start happening in the background. In the tech world, we call this shadow IT. So this already exists. And from there, we essentially have substacks. So, one slot, anti-gravity is a tool under my developer substack, I would call it, okay? So like, for example, using the same tool, when I click this, I can actually do something like this. I'll add another tool in my developer stack, okay? And you now see the multiple tools in that stack. But when I take it away, of course, it disappears. You don't see those other tools in the background, okay? Because each function is a mode, right? When I'm communicating, I'm going into comms mode. And so in comms, I might also have Slack, right? So this scales nicely in your mind, because essentially each slot, if you clicked on it, right, it becomes its own 9-slot pyramid. And again, this is essentially how it works in the background. But again, this is why I want only people to just remember the initial core stack, because it's simple. And then for people who, if I'm doing this with a team, right, or a company, this is where, because you're looking at scale. So a manager or an executive might actually want to know, how does this actually scale up? But these geometric constraints are actually now having provable results on the LLM side. But for those who are interested, we can have a separate talk on that. So what I'm sharing is like the consumer side.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. And the second question I think you had, Raj, what was the second question about?
That gamification of
Gamification.
seeing the results, but like keeping track of it. I mean, yes, you see, but keeping track of progress and what is that credit.
Yeah, perfect. So we do have there's an app called CStack Lite. And so that particular app is starting out as a monitoring app, and we can put gamification into it. But I am wary of gamification, because that's essentially us as the programmers or creators nudging behavior, right, into certain directions. And this is also the part that has been rewiring us, right, in a very sneaky way. And so that is something that I'm happy to discuss with people as we build all this out, right? If gamification is something that people want, sure, we can look at that. For now, I'm just keeping it as a monitoring tool, but we can chat more about that, and I can show more, maybe in a future session.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. All right, so did anybody else have any other questions before we move into just general AI news, consciousness, conscious tech stuff? And I'll just bring up my screen here. Okay. Oh yeah, Tirza. Yeah, she's it's about 2 a.m. over there. So thanks for making it. Thanks for making it.
Thank you guys. Good night. Bye.
Good night.
See ya. I just wanted to say that when we started having conversations around like your core identity stack, like the example you gave with Nikki, when we were talking about that the other day, going through the conversation from that lens helped create a better pathway to alignment for me, because it's before, when we were first talking about it, it was like, well, what are the most important things you want to do? Even if it wasn't just from a productivity lens, what are the most important things you want to do here? Like, what's your purpose with it? But when we started talking from the identity perspective, it's almost like the core self that you're operating from, or the version of core self that was so interesting. Like, that really was very interesting to me, and how it changed my perspective. So just wanted to share that with people who are thinking about that.
Yeah, thanks, Kaylee. I think because doing this with Kaylee, we've definitely identified that what started out here as a professional solution, right, has turned out to be more than just a professional solution. And this is why I think it's hitting here locally in Chiang Mai as the equivalent being applied digital feng shui, right? Because even in feng shui, it is, you rearrange your physical environment and it shifts the things in your life. And essentially what conscious stack design is, it's doing the same thing. And so this is, we didn't expect this, but I think that's what's forming. And so we have the business side that we can speak to, right? Because a lot of us here, we have our professional lives and experiences. But when you're engaging with people, I think as you start to understand the system better, you can learn to navigate those conversations and go deeper if you want to, right? Because otherwise, we can keep, F.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to that. It makes a lot of sense because one of the pushbacks, so as I'm building community, and naturally the question comes to what's the platform you're going to use, etc., etc.
Yes.
Then there's back and forth along, well, people are already overloaded with apps and it's not just their work apps like Slack and these kind of things, but then it's like, well, what are the apps they're using on their phones for health and fitness, for tracking their weights and, whatever the, relationships, right? Dating, whatever these things are, these are all apps too. And these all compound the cognitive load, right? So
yes,
I love that the fact that you have the 9 in the pyramid, because then you go, well, if that's your primary identity, which has subsets, like I'm a husband as well as I am an entrepreneur, as I am as all these things. I really cannot manage 20 apps at one go. Like, it just, my brain goes, fuck, that's just too much.
Exactly.
So I love that. Yeah, what you and Carly have arrived at is it's actually goes beyond the professional.
Yes, 100%. Raj, did you want to say something?
No, I was laughing of apps, and he said about tracking your steps or physical moments. I want to share my experience. I consciously practice, meaning digital is, we are making digital as a part of our life, whether it is a physical. See, our mind is like for meditation. You don't need really a mind app. You don't need a workout app. I mean, Apple Watch. Because I was the first one when the Apple Watch came. I bought every version of it until I got rid of all mine. I had a Garmin. Last 8 months, I got rid of everything, and still consciously I'm practicing it. So that's what I meant. I mean, when you have these many apps, I even don't use many apps either. Even Facebook, if I need, every time I use, I delete it. Consciously, I install it when I wanted to look at something. Because it drags you into it. That's how it is designed.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly.
So that is what I want to share. Yeah.
No, thank you. No, and I think, you and Af bring up some really good points, because this is what I've experienced with myself. Because once I set my core stack, right, I looked at it and I said, are these app choices reflecting who I want to be, right? Because if you have a whole bunch of social media apps at the top of your screen time activity, you have to ask yourself, first, why am I using so much of this? Do I need this? And for me, when I first saw it, I was shocked too, because I had I think X was my top app, right? I'm like, hey, that should not be my top app, right? And over time, I would say over the last 2 to 3 months, I was happy to see that my top apps were becoming Notion, Anti-Gravity, and then Dia Browser. But even having Dia Browser, right, another layer to that is that we have other apps that we use inside the browser. Right, you might actually open things up inside the browser. So that's like another hidden layer, right? And how we would then look at that is the amount of tabs. So this is where you can use a 9-slot model again, where what tabs do you have open in your browser, right? So if you remember, I had my browser in 1 slot, and then the substack of that would show tabs. So it's not just tools that you can use this mental model for. Right? I would then start to look at, okay, what are the top 9 tabs that I have open? Why do I have these open all the time? Which ones are consciously taking things away? And what is the cognitive task of keeping all these tabs open? And so this is where a browser like Dia, I started using, because it has a really cool function that when I start opening up new tabs, if I'm not using it after a while, it'll automatically collapse all those tabs into a folder. So I'm not looking at a whole bunch of tabs open, right? And this actually has a memory. It actually stays on your CPU memory. So this is the thing about Chrome. Chrome, when you have all these tabs open, you'll notice that the computer will start to slow down. Dia browser has done a really good thing where it'll compress it all. It'll turn those tabs inactive under the folder, and it actually has a correlation to the machine in terms of saving memory. So the machine and humans, we're mirroring each other as well, right? If the machine struggles to have multiple tabs open, what do you think is happening to your brain? Right? But because we become so addicted to the dopamine hits, right? We keep these things open. And so again, the movement here is to help us become more conscious technologists. And what I've shared with you guys, I'm so glad to hear that you're getting it. And you'll start to see that you might be able to start using this in any part of your life or your work. And that is going to actually prime our minds for, again, what's coming with AI. Because I am seeing how people are already struggling with the abundance. And it goes back to, I personally believe that freedom is freedom through self-discipline.
Yep,
right?
Exactly. Well said.
And so this geometric constraint is a form of self-discipline on the mind without it being taxing. So I'll maybe leave it at that. Kaylee, did you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I'm just writing that one down just so it gets in my head.
I love it.
Well, one of the things that I really find interesting about all this, with like the way that it's designed and even the way that we think about screen time or talk about screen time, or people do perhaps at first in these conversations, is how shame is built into the design. Because when things manipulate, they go towards shame first, because it's one of like the deepest, most intense, like low vibrational human emotions that kind of dictates a lot of things in your environment or reality, or how you see yourself, or maybe, I don't know, obviously things related to consciousness. And so as we go through it and even look at the screen time, like, I don't know, I think that it's just interesting how it's like baked in, and it just really brings into perspective these other bigger human emotions as part of our own humanity that are folded into this. And by design, if we only stay at that surface level conversation without continuing to look at it again and again and build the exercise to see that has a deeper story to tell, then we miss that because of just the way that we are, the way the bigger narrative is. So I met somebody last 2 weeks ago where I was telling her about this project, and she was talking about how her father was an addict, and then that's why she was like, I've been trying to figure out, like, how that relates to creating content on the internet, like all of this stuff. And so it was just interesting how people called to the story at different times. But
I love it. Thank you for sharing. I might share one other thing after this, because we're already past the hour. So holy cow! Thanks everyone for staying on. But Joe, did you have any thoughts on what we've been sharing so far?
I agree with a lot of you, and I do think the world is just getting overloaded, and we're all wanting to be more centered, because we all feel very off our center. And I noticed this in my work field, of course, when it comes to women and their health. And but I think when it comes to tech, I think this is also a really important one. Also, being conscious of your tech is really good for your health, as you said. And also, I've been thinking about this because when you're someone that is highly gifted, your brain is just always just going, right? And sometimes in Chrome browser, I had like 50 tabs open, and every time I do something, there's another thing happening, and my brain can handle it, but it isn't efficient, and it's hard to then rest afterwards. So I have really liked becoming conscious about, okay, let's keep the minimal amount of tabs open. Let's group them in Dia browser. Some things that I use a lot, I have pinned in Dia browser, and that's helped a lot. And for instance, on my phone, I just have one page with apps. And nothing else. And that page is called, that focus mode is called mindfulness, because basically it's hard for people to reach me unless really needed. So that's nice. And I choose when I open apps. There is this one thing, like Mo Daga said this I don't know if you guys know him, but he said this in an interview. Mo Daga was a chief, like one of the executive officers at Google. And he said that we have become addicted to being stressed. We've become addicted to, like, it's almost a thing to brag about, like how busy you are. And he says, like, I don't do meetings. We do a call or I'm out. But what making my point is, I'm trying to not be busy, and I'm trying to actually fit as much time, like a productive. Of course, we need to work, but put that all into a capsulated mode, and then for the rest be, because my word of this year is intention, and one of the things I'm intentional about is like bringing my nervous system to a place where it's resilient and it's not fully in high stress mode. And this is a really difficult thing to do when the whole world is asking you to be on the apps, is asking you to constantly like check your email, check your WhatsApp, because you have to be available. And I saw that I was doing this loop. I would check my email, WhatsApp, Instagram, LinkedIn, and then like every so often, and I was like, why? Because first of all, people don't deserve my immediate reaction. That is up to me. It's like checking the fridge. Yes. So it made me think even more about, I was already on this path, and then conscious tech design, what George like introduced me to, made me think of in a tech way. So that was really nice. So that's my 2 cents that I want to add. And by using DR Browser, I have eliminated ChatGPT, also because of the whole, ethical reasons. But I actually don't use any other AI. I was thinking of Okara or Claude, but I haven't been using them. I'm going to dive more deep into Gemini, because Gemini already has my data, as George said yesterday in the app. So, might as well. Because the thing is with DR Browser, there is no app yet. So it is nice when you're on the go that you can still use things. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to the DR Browser app. If once that's out, I'm deleting all the rest, because I'm being stuck about my stack, So yeah.
Love it. Thank you so much for sharing. And it's great to hear, because I think for those who haven't gone through this process yet, and for those who will probably watch this recording, right? These are the early results of what we're applying. And I think in a future session, oh, here's my cat. Okay, thank you, Nala. With conscious stack design and the 9-slot pyramid, what's super fascinating is that 9-slot pyramid actually fits really nicely with other systems people are using. So this is a complementary system, and we wanted it to be this way because we want it to be a bridge, right? And we are moving away from productivity. So our system is about helping to generate coherence for us over productivity. Like what Joe said, right? We don't want people to be more busy or feel more cognitively overloaded. We want people to be aligned and coherent, right? And that's what this should be doing. If this system does not do that, like, we haven't achieved like our purpose, right? We're not helping, we're just adding. And so this is why, Raj, about the gamification aspect, right? We could do that, but would that start moving into the territory of competition, keeping people on our app or something of the sort? We do not want to do that. That is our conscious intention with this. And the being overdoing, right? That's what we are optimizing for. So of course, there's so many other solutions from different people, different cultures, and using this, the 9 slots, we again did this from a mathematical reason. Is the 9 is a powerful number, and if you actually look at some of these different systems in different cultures, it maps cleanly to a lot of their local systems already. If you look at Feng Shui and the Bagua, they have a 9-room system, right? They'll have the 8 around and then the 1 room in the middle. Okay. If you go to human design, so Joe is a big human design person, right? You have in finding out your human design type, I think they got the different, the crown, the ajna, the throat, the center. Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, right?
The 9
But-
chakras.
The 9 chakras.
Yep.
Okay. So if you're someone who's doing human design, you use conscious stack design to align the tech side of your own system. So if you're doing human design, you find out what the things are for the 9 chakras, and you go, okay, which apps do you have on your phone or your desktop that are mirroring or reflecting those different chakras? Then you're now starting to align the digital environment with the physical. That's what we're creating here, and this has not been done before. And so this is why we're starting out this way. We can create technical solutions and apps and all that sort of stuff, but that's going to come later. This is the foundation. We get this right, this will stick. And so I might leave it there, actually, because I think that's a kind of like a good place to, at least from my end, to stop. But Kaylee, yeah, or if anybody had any other final comments, feel free to share. But Kaylee, I think I might hand it over to you to close us up.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so interesting. So I was just going to share the link to next month's Conscious Stack Design Meetup, the virtual one. I think we'll probably still continue it. If anything changes, we'll let you know. But here's the Luma. So we'd love to see you there. And in the meantime, if you know anybody that you'd love to invite to the community and these discussions, we have a WhatsApp group going. Definitely sign up, definitely talk to George or I, and we can add whoever to the WhatsApp group, because I think the conversation is going to get bigger and bigger and more relevant. Yeah. So, and then also, like, we're working on just really building out the movement and organizing people. So if there's certainly share the things that you're building or working on in the group. But then if you have any other ideas for different ways that people can live this, different ideas for the tool, different things that you're working on, or ways you would like to be involved, would love to know, because I'm going to just be a bridge to help support that as we go.
Thank you so much, Kaylee. And yeah, appreciate you guys hanging on for our very first virtual session. In the WhatsApp group, I'll be updating folks. We've got a bunch of folks in person here in Chiang Mai. And so it's going to be interesting to see how the in-person meetups also connect in with what we're doing virtually. So at least these virtual meetups will allow us to come together from all over the world, but there'll be a lot more in-person activity here in Chiang Mai because I'm here. And in the future, if people, want to start creating their own sort of like conscious tech groups locally, we'll be open to it. But, we're being conscious about how we grow this. And this is the setup. This is the plan.
Very nice.
All right. Yeah. So thank you all.
Thank you.
For making.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank
Thank
you
you.
much for coming on.
Thank you.
And yeah,
Thank
see
you.
you on WhatsApp.
Nice meeting with you all. Have a nice evening.
Thank you all.
Or have a great day. Thank you.
You too. Bye.